All right, in this example, it's super important to pay attention to which lines are parallel and which lines are not parallel, because remember those special relationships that we just learned about, alternate angles being congruent, alternate interior angles being congruent, alternate exterior angles being congruent, corresponding angles being congruent, and same side interior angles being supplementary. Those relationships only apply when the two lines are parallel. So what that means is, in this example, W and V are parallel. P and Q are not parallel. So the only way that I can look at this scenario and apply my special relationships is I can look at these angles along transversal P, because lines W and V are parallel, and I can look at these angles along transversal Q, because W and V are parallel. But if I was going to go the other way, P and Q are not parallel. So if I was considering the angles along transversal W, the special relationships would not apply because P and Q are not congruent. If I was going to travel along transversal V and look at all of these angles, those special relationships would not apply because those lines are not parallel. So if I were you, just like how I highlighted all the angles that I can apply the special relationships to, I think that's really important to do on your paper. So notice, like, these lines are parallel, so I'm highlighting across so that I'm hitting my parallel lines. And then these lines are parallel, so I'm highlighting across so I hit those parallel lines. Super duper duper important. Okay, so in the problem, it tells us that the measure of angle 9 is 80 degrees. So another good strategy is to say, okay, let's try and figure out all the angles that are congruent to angle 9. So angle 9 and angle 11 are congruent because they're vertical. Angle 9 and angle 1 are congruent because they're corresponding. And then angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical, so they're congruent as well. So if angle 9 is 80, then angle 1 is 80 degrees, measure of angle 3 is 80 degrees, and the measure of angle 11 is 80 degrees. So down here, the measure of angle 3 is 80 degrees. The measure of angle 1 is 80 degrees. And that's all we got for right now. And it says tell which postulates or theorems, but we kind of just talked about that. Okay, so now that means that angle 10, angle 12, angle 2, and angle 4 are all going to be congruent, and they're going to be congruent to, well, 9 and 10 form a linear pair, so they have to be supplementary. So angle 10 is 100. Ooh, mercy. Angle 10 is 100. The measure of angle 10 is 100 degrees. The measure of angle 12 is 100 degrees. The measure of angle 2 is 100 degrees. And the measure of angle 4 is 100 degrees. So angle 2, the measure of angle 2 is 100 degrees. Okay, so that's all that we can do along transversal P. Now let's hop over to transversal Q. So it tells us angle 5 is 68 degrees. So angle 5, oh, I want to use the highlighter. Angle 5 is congruent to angle 7 because they're vertical. 7 and 15 are corresponding, and then 15 and 13 are vertical. So those are all congruent. So angle 5 is 68. Ooh, yikes. Angle 5 is 68. That means angle 7 is 68. That means angle 13 is 68. And that means the measure of angle 15 is 68. So 15 is 68. And 13 is 68. And then finally, that means that angle 8 angle 6, angle 16, and angle 14 are all going to be congruent to each other. And if you notice, 13 and 14, 13 and 16 also form linear pairs. So 180 minus 68 is 112. So the measure of angle 16 is 112 degrees because it's supplementary to angle 13. Whew, that's a lot of colors. So the key, the big idea is look for which lines are parallel, find the transversal that's cutting through the parallel lines, and then you can apply your special relationship to those angles. But if you're going in the opposite direction where the lines are not parallel, your special relationships do not apply. If you notice, like angle 3 was 80 degrees, and then angle 6, we just found all those green ones are 112, and like those should, if those are same side interior, they should be supplementary, but 80 plus 112, that does not equal 180. Those are not supplementary. So going this way, the special relationships do not apply. Like if you look at angle 1 and angle 5, those are corresponding. Measure of angle 1 is 80 degrees. Measure of angle 5 is 68 degrees. Those are not congruent. So since these two lines are not parallel, these corresponding angles are not congruent. Those special relationships do not apply.